Hey guys, this is Ruben Langdon, aka Dante from Devil May Cry, aka Ken Masters from Street Fighter, and also Chris Redfield from the Resident Evil series. And you are listening to the Casanova Podcast, the #1 podcast in Hawaii. Jackpot.
All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Casanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mikhail Casanova, and I have the honor and privilege of having on, once again, my good friend, Caleb, a.k.a. History Behind the Warrior. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me back on. It's been a very, very long time since I've been on here. Last time I actually checked it as well, because we were talking about beforehand. Last time I was on here was early April 2018. So it's been a long, yeah. There's been a long time. So I see. You know, be fair. You got to expect from me. I do my homework on the law.
Yeah.
Well, no, thanks for having me on, man. It's been a long time, and it's nice being able to, one, have a chat with you, and two, do this during a time where like kind of human interaction faces is kind of scarce. So it's nice in that instance, man. Thank you for having me back on.
Definitely. Like for the audience, we were actually just catching up before we started recording this podcast for like an hour. And I was like, damn, an hour went by, because it's like late, well, late for me. And I know it's like evening for you, right?
Yeah. Sun's out. You can see like, was it the reflection TV over there? Oh no. Yeah, it's just how it be.
So it's good, definitely good to catch up, man. Like it's this last year into even parts of this year has been incredibly crazy. But you know what? Let's just talk about what's changed since the last time you were on. I know a lot's changed. A significant amount has changed.
A lot. Okay, so last time, I'm fairly sure it was strictly just content creation. I think I was still an upcoming content creator. So since then, a lot has changed. A lot has somewhat evolved in my vocabulary, my work, and stuff. So first things first. First step in the right direction was investing more time into content creation, kind of looking after myself and doing a lot of that. Fortunately, that actually caught the attention of Warner Brothers. So I have been very fortunate to have a working relationship with them since about 2019, around just before the events of the release of Mortal Kombat 11. So I got to work with them exclusively. From there, they actually flew me out to NetherRealm. They actually flew me out to Chicago, which is an incredible experience. My first experience of meeting Maximilian, Unruly, Steve, Uncaged, Caboose, like all my American peers, basically. And I had the opportunity to meet them. That was my first time, like, getting flown out to any event. And then at the same time, I get to meet all these people who I had been admiring for the last 3 or 4 years. And it kind of blew my mind, that instance. Just it was a shame, like, right out the gate, they happened to have met me when we were all drinking at the bar. And I was just kind of like, oh, I'm like 4 drinks in. I should probably stop at this point to not come across as a complete jackass of my first impression, mind you. So that don't get me wrong, it was a really lovely opportunity. And then from there, I started doing more work with them. I was actually the first person, as far as I know, in the world to reveal Cassie Cage gameplay footage. So that was really, really cool for me. It was an interesting aftermath as well, because I had a flag and take down so many people trying to steal that video from me. It was great. It was great. There's a story of that one I can bring up later. But then from there, I won this lovely thing that's actually behind me. Ooh, where's beautiful. That? There you go. Yeah, I won an early pre-release tournament as well, which was really nice. What was really flattering there is that as weird as this might sound, I've always kind of like always done videos in mind for the sake of like educating and stuff like that. But what was really flattering is that I got interaction from one of the writers of Mortal Kombat 11. He said he was really happy with what he saw and very impressed with what I'd done, and it was very fitting of him. And actually, I'm actually very good friends with him personally these days. He no longer works with NetherRealm, but we're very, very good friends in that sense. So it was very flattering in that instance. And then from there is actually where I took my first steps into playing competitively in a fighting game across seas. So I actually went to 2018 Combo Breaker, and I went to Evo as well. So that was quite something. Around there, I decided to stop traveling a little bit because it is financially dependent. Unfortunately, like I'm not making top 8s or top 16s, but I'm making it through pools, and I'm doing well for myself. Luckily, just not enough to like cover that type of money when it comes to traveling from the US to from the UK to the US. But yeah, from there, then after I decided to slow things down a little bit, I thought, what's the next evolution for me? Because I can only do tournaments so much when it's in Europe, because we don't get as many, right? So what was the next thing? Like, what am I good at? You put a microphone in my hand, I can talk anyone off the microphone, and I was drawn to commentary, right? So since then, I did, I think it was 32 commentary gigs for free before I got picked up by the Pro League for Mortal Kombat 11. So I had a huge CV before I'd started. And as far as I'm aware, since getting picked up, I have been the fastest rising commentator in the entire scene. Without having like a previous background in the tournament scene. It was someone who came in, who loved the scene, who'd been watching for a significant amount of time, happened to feel very comfortable on the microphone. So from there, it kind of became that. And I've been very fortunate in an instance as a commentator to have been flown out to Sweden, Ukraine, and Paris now. So stuff's been crazy in that instance of like, the transition of going from content creator to kind of like semi high level pro player to then go to commentary, while still staying in that, still staying in all these three fields. So I'm still very much so interlocked with content creation and Mortal Kombat, but I'm having different ways and different approaches of like being able to explore what I can do as an individual, whilst also having it feed into like what I know I'm comfortable with.
Okay, so the most important question here is, how are you balancing those three things and personal life and sleep?
I don't know what the word is or meaning is of the last one, but I can tell you for the first two. But in all fairness, it wasn't that bad. So the only reason stuff's only been kind of difficult now is because obviously due to the C virus, stuff's just been a massive pain in the ass. But beforehand, work was really good. I feel like people probably think I'm a complete sociopath for like doing 30 to 32 like commentary jobs for free at the level I am now back then for absolutely no change at all. But I'm just kind of like, I didn't do this for the money. I much like YouTube, I just did it, got good. I don't sound like a Dark Souls player, but I got good at my craft, and then people wanted to start hiring me for it. It's flattering in that instance to know that people took an interest, because and not many people would be hesitant with someone who is somewhat new to the scene, I suppose, in that instance, but someone who is experienced, someone who knows what they're doing, who's been an outsider for a long amount of time, I feel is the best way of putting it. So that's been quite nice. So it's kind of like I've been able to balance it out here and there. It became, what was it? Commentary became a part-time job for me. I'd actually do every Monday for like a few months for like a finals, because I used to do the Belong series, and Belong series was like a UK like grassroots tournament. I used to do it with actually my co-commentator and now housemate. And unfortunately, due to C virus being a thing, we had to stop that. but we still ended up doing other tournaments with like Lockdown Throwdown. Shout outs to Mr. Nuji and Jack Spratt, who probably end up rewatching this. But they ended up running those fantastic tournaments, you know, being funded by people who worked for Intersport, people who actually work at NetherRealm Studios, just people that kind of like the UK scene, not UK, the European scene isn't quite as big or active as the US scene, but we're all very, very tight knit together. Like we want the best out of what we can to reward people for playing well and doing well for themselves. So, you know, for the commentary side of things, it's been pretty good. There's been less jobs this year, obviously, but you know, so saying that I had the really big one last year in Ukraine. I'm not sure if you knew about this one. It was called the We Play Dragon tournament.
Yeah, I saw that.
But, yeah, the entire thing was unbelievable. Like the set design was incredible. They gave us these really fancy kimonos to commentate in. They flew us out. They treated us so incredibly well. And honestly, I feel that has raised the bar for not just fighting games, but kind of like esports fighting games. Like it's like it's kind of set this new standard, right? And we, like I said, it's not just the fact that it was all fancy. It's like we were treated really well. We were treated really well up there. So hopefully we can get more stuff like that in the future. But you know, that was a pretty crazy event. On the personal life side of things, yeah, no, things have been good in that instance. The only problem is like, since the last time we talked, like I'm now single. Woo! So, but as much as I'd love to like go and go and put myself out there, I haven't really had the chance to, because then this virus just kind of pops up. It's like, hey man, oh, you know, my favorite part. My favorite part was this meme I saw of, oh man, I feel like I'm finally ready to start seeing someone properly. So I'm dating, and the world's like, ha, psych, global pandemic, and I'm like, touche, well played.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about it, but yeah, no, since then it's just been kind of just me looking after me, making content. Yeah, that's the weird thing. Of course, as you understand, we had a chat beforehand. It's just like when it's with content creation, the free time kind of gets merged with work time. So it's just kind of like, what free time do I have, and how does it integrate with my life? So at this time, like, my personal time is merged with my work time, and I don't feel like until we come out of everything, that's gonna like separate right now. But I think everything on my personal end of things will go fine. Like, I'm just looking after myself. I'm talking to people still. I haven't quite gone insane just yet. But you know, it's just kind of a matter of looking after myself, providing for myself, and making sure that everyone I care about stays well too.
You know what they say about us full-time content creators? All we do is sit around and play video games all day. We don't really work.
I am not even gonna lie. I miss that luxury so bad. I have this catalog from last year of games that I need to play that starts at like Resident Evil 3 remake, and the list just grows and grows and grows and grows, and I'm like, I don't have time to play this many open world games, because by the time I get through like one of them, was it 7 are out? So for every one, there's 7 more, and I'm like, I can't keep up anymore.
It's insane. Like, okay, so from I'm in the same boat. I get something new. Like if a company sends something to me, like right now, IO Interactive, they sent me Hitman 3, and I'm excited to play it. I'm dreading playing it. And you know, IO Interactive, if you guys are watching or listening to this when this goes up, it's not a bad thing. It's just I'm coming off of so many open world games that it's exhausting. It's just like, okay, I got a game that's 40, 50, 60 hours. It's an open sandbox. Okay, I complete that. Oh, boom, here's the next game. And it's like, it feels like, especially from when you're having to review them, you only have a 2-week slot to make content for it while it's relevant. And then when it's not relevant, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, if that's from a business perspective, the thing is, for me, right? Like a big guilty pleasure of mine. I would say it's really guilty pleasure. I love narrative-driven games. Like one my favorite like all-time game. I think is the best way of putting it. It's probably The Witcher 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from a narrative-based standpoint, I absolutely love that game. I think it's fantastic. But I can't play that game and then go jump right into New Game Plus because that's 300 hours roughly. And to jump right back into that, I'm like, I need a few good minutes. I need some other games kind of take it. So I kind of get it in that respect. It's not like every one of those games feels the same, right? There's definitely uniqueness, especially with like something like Hitman. Like the amount of thought that the team puts into those sort of games, for the ways you can kind of approach the level design, immaculate, nothing short of incredible. But it's just like there's only ever so much, right? And I feel like I don't know if this is like some weird ass old man syndrome on my part, but I've been playing fighting games like a lot, like nonstop for the last 8 years, and I've reached that point now where I'm like, I don't want to learn any more fighting games. I don't want to take in all this information just to forget it. It's like I keep learning these new characters in Tekken, but I stop playing Tekken, and it's gone. It's gone. Yeah. I have to do it all over again. And I'm having the same idea. It's like, hey, man, you hear there's this new Guilty Gear game coming out? I was like, oh, come on. I only just got good at Revelator 2. There's just all this stuff getting thrown at me, and I'm just kind of like, I wish I could maintain this level at all of these games, but I simply can't.
Dude, I feel that way too. Like with, you know, the new Guilty Gear coming out, like the main fighting game that I've been playing, actually two main fighting games I've been playing lately have been Under Night and Birth. Was it Uniclear? So I've been playing Uniclear, and I've been playing hardcore like KOF 2002 Unlimited Match. What was it? Final Tune on PC. Those are the two I've been going hardcore in. And then I'm definitely thinking of diving back into Mortal Kombat 11. I just don't have anyone to play with half the time. It's, it's like when I'm up, most of the folks I'm playing that would play with me, they're either at work or they're sleeping. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. But two fighting games. And like when I think of trying to pick up something else, like I'm thinking about, okay, I'm going to pick up the new Guilty Gear. So I'm like, okay, that means I need to go back and relearn Kai and Rev 2. But then what if he's not going to be the exact same? Because I know they made some tweaks when they put out that beta last year. So he's not entirely the same. So I'm like, okay, so now I need to go and lab a new character. Okay. And then Tekken, you know, they've been dropping their characters. I'm on and off with Tekken. I don't know why. I used to be hardcore about it, but like, I don't know. The whole Negan thing kind of killed it for me.
Yeah, the thing is with Tekken, like I think to me, I've always seen it as a bit of a timeless game. Like it kind of, because it's a legacy based game, right? It kind of stands time, right? It's just it's eternal in that sense because it's a legacy based game. Everything passes across, but because I see it as that. And I've never had the competitive drive. To me, it's a game I can put down, and I can come back like way later on. I'm just kind of like, oh, nothing's really changed that much to me on the surface level, right? Unless they add like new mechanics that are like fundamentally like change everything. Because at that point, I'm on such a casual level that frame data means like nothing to me. I'm just kind of like, I do combo look cool. I know my BMB. I stick with. So that is as simple as it gets for me on the Tekken level. It's like when people say like, "Oh, you should just use a wall rising 4." I'm just kind of like, jab. I'm just kind of like, I'm not quite in that level where I can like they could say stuff to me and I'm just kind of like, yes, I will do it, and then proceed to do the same thing I've been doing the entire time.
Dude, that's so like okay, so 2019, I was at we had a local tournament out here for Soul Calibur 6, and I love the game. but I only play it here and there. If I do play it, you know, my main character is Kilik, and then Maxi, then Mitsurugi. I know that's 3 easy characters, but those are the ones I've always played with over the last 20 years. So we had the WWE come in town for like a house show, and then Austin Creed was here. So he came to the tournament we were at. So we were playing, and me and him were going back to back. Kilik versus Kilik, Maxi versus Maxi. And like, dude, he's good. And like the guys behind me were talking, like they were like, well, how come you didn't do this? And you know, because frame data this and frame data that. And I'm like, I'm just doing my thing. And then like Austin Creed's like, he said, dude, you're good. Do you lab a lot? And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm a reactive player. Like, I just react to whatever you're gonna do.
Oh, that's fair. Honestly, like, as someone who does play like Soul Calibur competitively, you don't really have to worry about like frame data unless like people are guard impacting you and reversal impacting you and stuff like that. Then it's just kind of like, yeah, I should probably be paying a little bit more attention there. No, that's really neat though. That's really neat though. It's just like, I wouldn't say it's elitism, but it's kind of like that extra like, hey, you should probably be doing this. I'm like, I could be.
Oh, dude. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is, have you found that since you've been doing so many other things, you know, with you're doing streaming, doing commentary on top of still doing YouTube content, do you find yourself having that desire to do something else? Like, do you find that you need to keep pushing to that next echelon, or do you feel like this is what I'm going to do now and I'm not looking forward? Knowing you, I know you're always looking for the, you know, so
like in the nicest way I'll probably put it is, I'm always looking to do the next big thing, right? That's basically the thing. I love Mortal Kombat, but I feel like something that people don't quite understand is I started off my channel with Mortal Kombat. It's 2021. I started it back in 2015. I've been talking about Mortal Kombat for what's coming up to about 6 years. And that's been a constant. I've covered other games like Soul Calibur and Street Fighter and other bits and pieces along the way, but Mortal Kombat's been a constant. So to me at this point, I'm looking to expand the brand beyond what it just is. And I think the first steps in the right direction was back in November. It was either the 10th or the 12th. And to somewhat celebrate next gen release, I did my first ever somewhat non-fighting game character, which was the History of Virgil for Devil May Cry 5.
Yep. Excellent video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
Yeah, no, I think the most flattering part about it is that people were really open to seeing something new and something that because I'm not a fan of the older games, but 5 really hit the spot for me for what I love about action games. And I fell in love with the game so much. I was kind of like, all right, cool. I want to follow through on it, to the point where I made a video on it, and I was very, very proud of the video, and the turnout of it was also really good. It took a while to get going, but the fan base for like Devil May Cry has a bit of a cult but hardcore fan base in that instance. But it was nice to know that they appreciated it and that they enjoyed it. So the next project essentially for me is, well, the next projects for me are probably covering the rest of the Devil May Cry cast. And then after I do them, it's the thought process of, where do I go from there? What's the next one that I want to cover? So I don't know, with Resident Evil around the corner, that might be a thing. You know, there's a lot going on with those games as well, and you know, with the remakes currently going on at the moment as well, I feel like it's a good opportunity to somewhat bridge the older and newer fans, because you know, if you're getting remakes, right, I feel it's a good time to somewhat be reintroduced and re-educated on the series. I can't say I'm too familiar with a lot of Resident Evil lore and background, but knowing me, it's like I don't just like use one source of information when I actually do my research. I use like probably seven different sources just to make sure I can pinpoint and get like things right. So I'd like to take a step in that direction, but I don't want to like leave fighting game players up in the hills. Fighting games are still going to be there, but it's like, how do I moderate? How do I make it work? Because the one problem that I've noticed myself with somewhat my brand is that I have boxed myself in a really tight spot where I could only like talk about fighting games for a long amount of time. Like it was only ever fighting games. It was only factual stuff. It's only been history of stuff. But ever since the last time we talked, really, I've been finding out like beneath the surface. I have quite the personality, and I have quite a sense of humor to myself. So I've been kind of integrating that into more of my videos. There's a little bit more going on than just what's going on with the microphone, which has been really nice in that sense. But I feel like this year's the year where I don't want to somewhat take the channel back and like, oh, it's mine now, but somewhat not have history behind a warrior, just be that dude who makes videos and fighting games, but he's this dude on the internet, and he just so happens to do that sort of content and has a bit of personality behind him and does some other stuff. You know, add a little bit of flavor to something that has existed for about 5 or 6 years, because you can't keep doing the same thing and not expecting it to get stale, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like this year is the right step it's a step in the right direction for me as a person, someone who likes to be creatively fresh, and someone who can help kind of grow the channel in a positive way while still sticking to its roots, mind you.
And I found that one of the biggest challenges as a content creator, especially when you're a full-time content creator, is trying to stay in that creative energy, mindset, state of being, while also innovating, doing something new, doing something creative. Because if you're just doing the same thing, and it's funny because I know a lot of content creators, no shade, but I know a lot of, shade, but I know a lot of content creators that just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And then they're like, okay, so either one, how come I'm not getting as many people watching? Why are things like coming off like people are tired of it? Why is it stale? It's like, you got to keep innovating. There are things that, you're going to like at one point that you may not care for down the road, or you may just take an interest in something else and you want to be able to have that capability of expanding and doing something more. And it's just, a lot of people don't do that. And I'm glad that you are. I'm glad that you're always, I've always viewed you as a go-getter, man. Like I mean,
yeah. It's just likewise, I feel like in both our instances, it's like when we want something bad enough, we know we'll commit, we know we'll do it, and we know we'll do it right. Yeah. So it's nice to just see kind of like all this hard work pay off, and hopefully these steps in the right direction will lead to better stuff for the channel in the future. Because a lot of people they tend to forget that like a lot of the money that actually comes from the channel, I actually invest right back into the channel in order to do like new and better things. Like I didn't have a PC before. This is my second PC now. Like this thing's a juggernaut. So now I can do like content at like 1080p and do like way more amounts of stuff. I can stream. I can do a lot of stuff with my content, and it's been nice to do something that's different to what I kind of pushed myself into. Like I put myself in the box, and now I'm kind of opening up that box and like showing that there's more to it than just the name itself. I feel is the most important thing.
That PC is sexy, sir. That's a sexy PC.
It is quite something. I'm very proud of it as well, because just because it's like super extra, it's like, hey, I can do this, I can do that. Totally not excessive at all, I swear. No, it's just been really nice though, just being able to kind of afford these things and put it back into myself and like just look after myself in the nicest way. Like I wouldn't be in the position I am. I definitely don't take what I do for granted, because I got this job like by basically complete accident, and me kind of just like how do I take this? The ball was thrown at me, and it was either I sank or I swam with it. So I was just kind of like, I see something here, and I'm definitely not going to like just drown. Yeah, I'm going to keep moving forward. And luckily, 6 years later, if I told myself where I was it I'm 24, I'm coming up to 25. If I told myself I'd be doing this 10 years ago, I'd call myself just an idiot and a liar. Like, just straight up. This is beyond anything I could have comprehended. Like, I'm so happy in where I am in my life right now with content creation, like what's happened. I could not take this for granted. I think it'd be foolish.
And you know, the other great thing about it is, okay, for context for the audience, I know a lot of times I rant about how stressed I am with different things and feeling like I don't have free time. And I think you're probably the same way in feeling that even though there's stress, at least it's stress doing something you enjoy versus doing, you know, being stressed out for deadlines at some job that you hate, working for, you know, under somebody who may not be qualified to be your boss, like my old jobs. I haven't forgot.
It's the way I put it like this, because although I only did it for a brief time, before I did YouTube, my one and only job before was working retail. And the one thing I will say to everyone who's in retail, get out of retail and follow what you love, because if living and doing retail, I could not imagine doing that for the rest of my life. And that's not a knock to the people who do it. Like, trust me, they are saints, and they have the power and will of God on their side for being able to do it for that long, mind you. But like, follow through on your dreams, and sometimes it doesn't hurt just to see how far you can go with it. Even if you don't follow through on it, it's better to try than to not do it at all. Yeah.
It's you know, that's definitely something like with my wife. So she's done well. This whole the C virus is basically we're saying C virus like it's like like Resident Evil.
Yeah. We talked about Resident Evil. That's why I'm calling it C virus. It just sticks. It sticks.
So like for her, like she was she's working at this retail company. She was the store manager for years, and she's been in the company for about 10 or 12 years. And then when, you know, it really hit and set in last year, they decided to, like, you know, they let everyone go. Then they closed all the stores. And so I know my wife was like, okay, what do I do now? And I'm like, well, what do you like to do? You like anime, you like manga, you like video games, you like this, you like that, you know, dive more. She's already doing content creating, but, you know, I was like, dive more into it. She's dove into it, you know, really done well with her channel, doing incredibly well with her streams on Twitch. Like, she's one of the top Final Fantasy streamers in Hawaii.
Damn.
And it's like insane. Then she's got a podcast where she's doing really well with that. And I'm like, are you having fun with that? Yeah, that can be a career.
It is pretty crazy in that instance, because like I know many people would. It's one of my favorite things I can actually like say to negate people like this, but it's nice having a job like that, and I think it's an odd form of satisfaction when I hear people say, "Get a real job." I'm sure that's something people say to you still for some time, but you know what? You know what my favorite reply to people like that, and it's not even smug. I could get a 9 to 5, or I could just do a hobby I get paid for. Yeah, it's not obnoxious in that sense, but it's just kind of like, if you had a choice, realistically, would you want to do the 9 to 5, or would you rather like be your own boss in that sense and control your own hours? You know, put your own priorities first, not have to worry about, you know, having to ask someone for time, not having to, you know, walk on eggshells in that instance if there's a bad working relationship. You know, there's a lot of different factors with it, and it's just like why I say I don't take any of this for granted, right? This is a one and a God knows how many people chance an opportunity for myself, and I'm very proud with how that 5 year journey has gone from the lonely kid at like secondary school and the guy at university who didn't have any friends to now someone who has the world at his fingertips and is basically doing what he wants of what he loved on a course that he hated.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a crazy journey. Crazy journey.
Would you say, like, how, like, in your opinion, like, how surreal would you say it is, you know, getting to work with Warner Brothers, NetherRealm Studios, doing the various events that, you know, you've commentated for, the places you've been flown to? How surreal is that? Do you have to pinch yourself?
Yeah. So the thing is, to me, every time it's always so new to me, because even with like even when I've worked with Warner Brothers a fair bit, and I've worked with Bandai Namco a fair bit.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, to me, it always comes down to when it comes to down to it, I'm just kind of like, these are the guys who make these games. They're interested in me. That's really cool to me. And then I feel like the surreal moment, and like the one that really kind of like hit home was like getting invited to NetherRealm Studios. That was 4 years of really hard work at my end for an opportunity to do that. And I may have only been there for like 3-4 days, but that time there was incredible, and I do not regret a single second of anything I done to build up to just that point alone. And you know, as someone who, because the one thing that people have to understand, whilst I'm a content creator, I never ever at any point stopped being a fan. So when I got like to NetherRealm Studios, and then I got to walk around what I had been watching through videos for years, and then I got to meet Ed Boon, and then I get to see all these props from previous games that existed. It's surreal to me. It's beyond anything my imagination could have comprehended, because I'm just kind of like, wow, we actually did it. We actually did it. And the thing is, it's not like I'm taking it as like, oh, it's me. I did this. I consider it a team effort of like the support I got from my channel, because they're the ones that gave me the opportunity for it. And I'm just pleased that I was able to provide the content for them to be entertained enough to capture the attention of someone on a large scale in terms of company, to say like, we want that guy there to represent the UK department. You know, so that blew me away. That blew me away.
And you know, being able to work with these companies, befriend people in these industries, what would you say from your perspective, like how different is it, I guess, being a entrepreneur working alongside these companies versus being a fan, or the, you know, how there's the term, the armchair analysts that think they know everything going on in these companies, but they really don't. How different is it in your opinion?
It's very hard in that instance, because you have to weigh, like, I suppose, a form of a devil's advocate, or being able to maintain a form of professionalism, and also like trying to maintain a form of fandom. You know, you kind of need to keep a level head in that sense, because like I remember the entire time I was walking around NetherRealm Studios, I was like, playing it like really cool, just walking around, just kind of taking it all in, whilst inside it's like the loudest of internal screams of glee that I'm surprised that like people in the studio spent like, it's like, what's that fucking sound I can hear? So it was just one of those. It was those crazy things. It's still surreal to me now. It's like the thing that just blows my mind, and I will never kind of get over this is the fact that not only did they have me there, but the guys in the studio actually watched my content or watch my content, which is the part to me that's crazy. That's crazy to me. I'm just kind of like, to know that my reach goes out that far. Because for all I could know, they could just bring me in as a face, right? It's just kind of like, hey, he does Mortal Kombat stuff, it's fine. But I've had people from the studio who I've met at like fighting game tournaments who've actually like introduced themselves to me or say hello to me, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, this is a thing. This is wow. So like I said, dude, I'm still like a huge fan. I just have to put on a face the entire time, and like it's like, yeah, it's cool, man. It's like, right, yeah. So yeah, there's a fine level of it, but I don't feel like that will ever go away for me. I don't feel like that will ever go away for me. And honestly, I feel like I want to keep it that way. You know, I love that gayness, even when I'm on commentary, right? The best thing I love about before I get on commentary, and that this can sound really weird, is when I'm super anxious, I'm super nervous, and I'm kind of scared. But that's really good to me, because that's how I know I'm going to be really engaged. My adrenaline's going, my heart's pumping, I'm invested. And I feel like that is like the really important thing when it comes to like caring about something. Because, you know, like I always go out there on the microphone, whether that be in video, whether that be on commentary. So always do my best to always know, like, show what I can do and I'm capable of. And I like to think that most of the time I can knock it out of the park. Fair enough, I do have slip-ups here and there. I feel like that's normal in any instance. But it's nice to know that, you know, I still kind of retain that fear in that sense, that kind of anxiety that allows me to kind of push myself.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, as far as like commentary goes, like, what is like, let's say top three. I had two, but top three events you got to commentate for, and how much of a rush was it?
Okay, so okay, first one was the most recent one I did, which was the We Play Dragon Temple one. There was absolutely like no way I wasn't gonna mention that one, because dude, that was crazy. That was crazy. All of us, including the players and commentators and presenters, we didn't actually know a lot of the choreography that was going to be going on there, or the light shows and stuff like that. That was all stuff we got to see firsthand, and we're watching. We were like, wow, this is esports. This is insane. So it was that which was like at such an elevated level, and it brought in international talent as well that I was familiar with. Like that, there were a lot of players there who I didn't really get to meet when I was in the US. And it was a humbling experience being able to meet these people. And again, much like the NRS devs, to know that, you know, I'm fans of them for watching them at high level players, right? And they were fans of me by watching my YouTube content. So it was a vice versa thing. And it was really nice. Like, I got to meet Forever King. I got to meet Infinity. I got to meet Gur. I got to meet Tekko. I got to meet some amazing names. I'm not going to name off all of them here, mind you. But it was nice meeting those people and feeling like, although I was still kind of new and green, they already knew about me beforehand. So my transition into like on-hand commentary was, I feel like, the next step in evolution of the channel and me as a person.
Awesome.
Second one, that's going to be probably the Intercontinental Finals for DreamHack Sweden. So that was the first big one for me. So that's always going to have a special place in my heart. And this one was crazy. Like, I had players from all around Europe. This is my first time meeting all of these players. Like, we had Wasminator from Australia. We had Shark Teeth from the Middle East. We had Nivek from Greece. And then we had a bunch of UK guys. And there was a bunch of talent from all over the globe. And it was nice being able to meet all these people in person and commentate and do it all in person as well. You know, it kind of it was the first instance of, wow, this is really happening. This is actually picking up. But yeah, no, it was an extraordinary experience. My only regret is that I couldn't have done it longer. It was an incredible time, and everyone backstage was incredible. Shout outs to Intersport for always being able to put on an amazing show as well. Like their professionalism and their kindness is always deeply appreciated, and you know they really do care. They really, really do care.
Okay.
Then the third one, it's not going to be an IKK one, but this was the first one that kind of helped push me to wanting to do it. So I did a very, very small commentating event. I think it was before I went to, it was either before or after I went to Combo Breaker. But basically, I got a taste for commentary beforehand. But when I really wanted to invest in it, I went to a local called East London Fighters. And I got to know the people there very, very quickly, and then started doing commentary with them. And I was kind of like their on-hand MK11 analyst and commentator. So I would always do tournaments for them and stuff and cover it. Now, they didn't like continue doing Mortal Kombat 11 very long because unfortunately we just didn't quite get the numbers. But it was a step in the right direction that would lead to me having a secondary career. So I'll always be like super, super grateful to them for it. It was just it's just a crazy thing. Just something from like it's like the same thing on my YouTube channel. It's like the smallest of ideas, right? The smallest of ideas can lead to some of the biggest things, and it's madness to me. It's madness to me.
Awesome. And as far as like your commentating style, like was there any particular commentator in the FGC or just in commentary in general that has influenced your style, or is that just authentically 100% just you just coming through?
I think it's a mixture of a lot of different factors in that sense. So two big guys in the UK that helped me really that helped get me opportunities were Ketchup and Mustard. You know, without Jake and Ryan, I would not be in a very the privileged position I am now as a commentator. It's my entire like commentary career. It's entirely on them, entirely. And I God bless them. I love them too. There's so much. There's amazing advocates for the scene, incredible people in general, and do so much more than what I feel like they don't hear it nearly enough. So if they are watching, shout out to you guys. But their commentary is so incredibly on point. Like even if they don't commentate Mortal Kombat, they can make anything sound great on any level. Like they do incredible stuff. And after like taking different pointers and then like learning from them, I learned different styles of commentary, of play-by-play, analyst, hype man, and just like etc. and like little bits and pieces of information. But the thing is, it's one thing to learn it, and it's another thing to apply it and know where to apply it appropriately. The hardest one that I have found to be out of all of them is probably play-by-play, because you need to really, really be on point. It's basically reactionary commentary, which can be fun, but it can be very draining, which is why I'm very fortunate in that sense. My co-commentator Falcon, He's an incredible analyst. Incredible analyst. He's an experienced player himself, so he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. So whenever, I'm going by play, and there's something that happens in the round and he wishes to break it down, I can pass things over to him. He can kind of like analyze and break down the gameplay before things pick back up, and I can jump back in. So it's a good natural flow between the pair of us and how we work off each other.
Okay. Cool. And as far as like one of my last questions for commentary, is there anything, knock on wood, God willing, if there's an opportunity to cover it, if there's tournaments this year or next or anything, okay, you know what, scratch it, fuck it, scratch that question. We're gonna come with another one. What is your dream event to commentate for?
Combo Breaker without a doubt. Hometown in Chicago based NetherRealm Studios, with all of the devs there, supporting the scene, showing the love for their own game, turning up at the event. I would consider that the grand stage of them all. And I know many people would say, oh, why not Evo? But what a lot of people don't realize is that, Evo doesn't treat NetherRealm games too well. We typically get like the short end of the stick in that respect. But because that is the case, that's okay with me, because I'll put it like this, right? It cost me £900 to travel all the way from the UK to Las Vegas. That's excluding my stay in the Mandalay Bay Hotel, or any hotel for that matter. Or I could travel from the UK to Chicago for about £400, and then I could use the $500 left over from the Evo flight to cover my stay in Chicago. And then I can also go to the world's largest arcade there, which is Galloping Ghost Arcade. And then I still have the opportunity to go around Chicago, because Chicago is quite an interesting place, quite an interesting spot. So, in comparison, if I weigh money as well as experience and for my own travels, I'll definitely go with Combo Breaker. Definitely, for sure. Without a doubt.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Well, fingers crossed, knock on wood. What was it like meeting Ed Boon, the legend himself?
Ed's like one of the nicest, cool guys around when it comes, because the dude's very, very humble. But in also saying that, I would not be entirely too surprised if it was like, I have no idea who you are, I'll take a photo of you anyway. To be fair, because God bless his soul, he must get that a lot. He must get that a lot. And it's not like I travel out to the US enough to probably be a familiar face that he could recognize. If he does, then God bless his soul, I'm very humbled. Mind you, he ended up like retweeting one of my videos earlier this year, last year, which like I'm not even gonna touch on that again because I'll freak out again. But that was a crazy moment for me, and being able to meet Ed, although very brief in that instance, because I've met him twice. I've had 2 photos taken with him. Ed's a really nice guy, and I think he deserves a lot more props from what he does. He knows the position he's in. He's very privileged for, he understands what he has, and he doesn't take it for granted as well. Off the very small success, off the very small budget he had for the first game and what it had become, I don't think Ed will ever forget his roots in that sense.
Great. That's awesome. Okay, so you got to meet Unruly and Maximilian. So I got to meet them at E3 2019. Jesus Christ, I had no idea they were that tall. I'm over, look, dude, I'm 6'2", and I feel like I'm looking up like, how is the weather? Really, what's good?
Oh no, but bless them, they're such nice guys.
Yeah,
they're such nice guys. I've only been able to meet them twice, mind you. So it was the NetherRealm event, and the second was Evo. But man, every time we hung out, it was always a blast. And bless Max, he's such a kind soul, and like straight up, man, Unruly's one of the coolest dudes I've genuinely ever met. Like, what an awesome, nice guy, man. Like, oh, I wish him nothing but the absolute best. And he's always been so kind with me. And I come by his streams a fair bit, and we play and we have a good laugh here and there. So, you know, honestly, it's been so nice being able to meet, because it's like with the UK and the European scene in itself, we don't get to interact too much with the US guys, really, unless it's like traveling through to tournaments or they come here. So it's not very common, especially from a content creation standpoint. So it was flattering, and it was very nice. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I could really say outside. They're just incredible people, and it was just really nice after so many years of like being a fan to like being able to say I'm their friends now, and being able to interact with them. It's crazy. It's crazy, dude.
Awesome, dude. What's it? When it comes to streaming, because I know you stream as well. Do you find like difficulty getting like your YouTube audience to go over to your, you know, when you're streaming on Twitch, or do you find that, because I'm not sure if you've actually like done a lot of streaming on YouTube. I personally hate streaming on YouTube because copyright system is broken. But
that's true.
But
I mean, worst case scenario, you could always go back like to Facebook gaming. Sorry.
Okay, you brought it up. So what's your opinion on Facebook gaming? I think it's trash. I'm gonna say that, and they're gonna be like, "Yeah, we're not gonna let you into the partner program." I didn't want to go there anyway. And so,
yeah, I'm just kind of like, I could do that, or I could stick my fingers in blenders. How's that? I'm good. Like, I'm fine. I just felt like, you know, it's like every time I like say Facebook gaming, it's like a cat coughing up a furball. It's like that idea of regurgitation, but you can't quite get it up. But yeah, that's all I need to say about Facebook gaming. As for streaming, I don't get to stream as much as I'd like to, because of course you understand the struggle of sleep, broken, work all the time, can't quite sleep or think straight except work. So it gets kind of difficult in that instance, right? I try to find like the fine line of it. But when I do stream, there is a difficulty in terms of integration, but that's mostly due to me. So I like to consider YouTube. Like I consider that where I do the history of stuff, and that's where it can stay. You know, that's more of a professional thing. More of my personality will get implemented into it over time. Whereas Twitch is me. Twitch is my project. Twitch is something I do in my free time, and something that I consider based for me on myself. You know, I don't. It's not that I don't want to cater to bringing everyone from my YouTube side over. It's just kind of like, if I want to play a game, I'll play a game there. It's not like I play fighting games a lot in my free time, but I don't want to play them all the time. I want to be able to do my own thing, enjoy my own game, and have my own fun in that instance. So I don't integrate too much of them across, because I'm not like trying to force feed them. It's like, you gotta like this, you gotta like that, or you can't have any of it. It's like, it's fine. Yeah, everyone can have their little taste in different flavors. If you don't like it, that's cool. You can come back later. There's always something else. So, you know, the Twitch is definitely more for me. The streaming is just, it's about me being able to enjoy myself a little bit more as a content creator. It allows me to express myself a little bit instead of, you know, because sometimes, like I said, unless it's like a reaction video or stuff like that, you don't really see that side of me too much. Twitch is definitely the place to go.
Well, you know, could definitely try Facebook gaming. I can't say that with a straight face.
Yeah, I feel like I've just ruined that now for you. Just, you think of, you know, that picture of like that cat pulling that face with like his tongue out, where it's like throwing up. Yeah, that's what it looks like in my head. Like that's how I permanently see Facebook gaming.
Okay, so for the audience who may not understand why we have this feeling towards Facebook gaming, personally, I view Facebook as a whole, the platform. I feel like it's dying, to be honest. It's a slow death, but it's a death nonetheless. The whole thing with I feel like Facebook gaming is going to turn to Mixer. I don't see it staying around for the long term. I understand that a lot of people are saying like, oh, go to YouTube and stream over there. Like you can really grow on YouTube. The problem with streaming on YouTube, just like with uploading regular content on YouTube, is the broken ass copyright system, which, well, granted, Twitch is not that much better, but at least on Twitch, I can just be me fully, unabashedly. So.
Yeah, I put it like this. Every platform in itself kind of has its own flaws and problems. But it just seems like Twitch is the one that's a little more lenient in that sense. I feel it's the right one. It's like choosing the lesser of three devils, I suppose. No disrespect to Twitch and whatever. It's just kind of like... so Twitch definitely aren't exactly saints themselves with banning particular words and having particular content creators who definitely break TOS. Like go on there, but it is what it is, and you got to make do with what you got. But that's something that YouTube is also very guilty of. Facebook gaming, I can't really speak too much of because just they haven't quite grasped my interest. Mostly because I wouldn't have any fingers. Sorry, that was awful. That was awful. That was awful. I'm killing Facebook gaming. I'm killing Facebook gaming.
Oh my god!
They're trying to kill me.
What are your thoughts on like trying to like get discoverability on Twitch? Like a lot of people say, you got to use Twitter, you got to use TikTok, you got to use your YouTube. I kind of just hit go live. Like I was at one point promote. I do promote it in my videos and occasionally I'll tweet it out. But a lot of times, dude, I just go live and I just do my own thing. You've seen some of the random wild shit I've said on my streams. I just do my own thing and then I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I have a game to play.
I mean, in all fairness, dude, your stream was freeing enough that I could crack so many Tiger Woods Last of Us jokes. It was amazing. It was amazing. What was it? I don't remember this version of. I don't remember this version of Tiger Woods golfing. There's a lot more shooting and kissing other people. Was it other women? It's just something along those lines. It was a long while back, mind you, but sweet lord, like, yeah. The thing is, with kind of the whole Twitch integration, I do always put it out there that I do that stuff, mostly because it's like it's not like forcing people to come across like, hey, I'm doing a thing. If you want to come by and hang out, now's definitely time because I don't get to do it too often, right? So for me, when I do it, I'm just kind of like, if there's ever a time you wanted to have a chat with me, now's definitely the time to do it. Because I like, unlike most Twitch streamers, I'm not like super big on the platform. So the chances of me being able to get to pretty much every comment is like super duper high. So pardon me, I do get around to everyone at the best of my ability. Fortunately, I'm not like super huge on the platform. So it's kind of like that nice privilege, right? Because I do feel guilty sometimes, like, not ignoring a person's comment, but kind of like as I'm reading through the comments, like there'll be one that I just miss by accident, and then a person will retype it, and I'm like, oh no, damn it! I'll answer it now. It's not them being pushy at all. I'm just kind of like, because I literally like to get to everyone, you know. Like, I cater to my audience in the best way I can of people who want to be invested or involved.
Okay. And I know we kind of touched on this before we went live and we were catching up, but do you ever have an instance where you feel like your community tries to influence, dictate what you do on your streams or what content you cover? Like, friends or channel members. I've got okay. So you ready for a story?
All right, we're here for the story.
This is interesting.
Go time.
So there's a company out here. They're probably going to listen to this podcast. They may pull support from Patreon. I don't fucking care. There's a company out here that I've interviewed the owner twice, because the first time I interviewed him, then he made fun of my fucking show and then didn't like the quality of the podcast. So then I went and redid it, and I just didn't care. I threw it up. Anyway, so he's a patron. The company is PC Gamers Hawaii. Fuck it, I don't care. So he has this thing at my $25 tier on Patreon that he feels like he gets the right to tell me who to interview, what content to cover, and tells me I need to promote them constantly. He's like, I'm a sponsor of yours for $25 fucking dollars. Dude, I've done paid sponsorships when I've made a couple $100 to a grand. $25 to tell me what to do. Do you have that kind of? You ever had to deal with people that have that overreach?
So I have, up to a certain extent. I feel like the cases of I think the craziest instance of that, and I think this completely blew up in this dude's face, was this guy who had consistently been asking for me to cover like more Dead or Alive content. Now, originally I was going to cover Dead or Alive content, but Koei Tecmo didn't learn from Dead or Alive 5 that you shouldn't monetize everything with such a ludicrous price tag. And because of that, I found it very anti-consumer. And I was like, I can't cover your games and feel comfortable with what you guys are doing. I don't care about your ass and titties hanging out and that shit. My problem is that you're getting players to pay more for the girls to wear less, but at a price where they might as well just be going to a strip club, because the memory will last longer. Because that's basically the whole thing with Koei, and that was my issue with it, which is why I stopped actually covering their games. I'm guessing you quite like that, with paying more to see less. Yeah, it's not wrong. It's not wrong with Dead or Alive, and that's the thing, right? Like even let's go on a quick tangent here. It's like,
go for it.
With Dead or Alive, right? That's always kind of been its gimmick and shtick, which is perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. They make the extreme beach volleyball games. That's cool. That's your jam. That's where people put their money. Awesome. But the second you try to advertise yourself as not that, you're gonna have to rely on two things: your new extreme character designs and your core gameplay. And as far as I know, Dead or Alive 6 gameplay had been watered down from 5, so it was essentially like super duper brain dead in comparison. And on top of that, like I said, the monetary issue of, I think the base game's like £50, and then the season pass is £70, which is way more expensive than your base game, which to me is ludicrous. And I get it. It's one character and a handful of skins, but that's insane to me. That's a £70 skin pack, basically. Because what happens if I pay for the season? Because the thing is, like, that's the thing with season passes, right? You don't really know what you're necessarily getting character-wise. So as far as I know, I'm paying for God knows how many skins for a character I may not be invested in playing. That's how I see it. So I'm just kind of like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I ain't all about that. But going back on the whole topic of, like, some people trying to hijack the channel, in that instance, this dude went into, like, my comment section, which was a comment section that was completely different to the topic. And he was like, oh, when are you going to make more Dead or Alive content? You need to make it. And I'm just kind of like, oh, sorry, dude, I'm not doing it anymore. And he's like, all right, fine, I'll just go somewhere else, and I'll just make my own videos on it. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Do it. That's the thing. It's like, oh, I'll just do it myself then. I'm like, okay, yeah, do it. And then the dude suddenly realized, like, oh, I'm probably gonna stop commenting here because I just realized how much of an asshole I look. I'm just kind of like, oh, really? Just now? Because it's the thing. I'm just kind of like, I don't want to sound like a pugnacious prick, but I'm just kind of like, you didn't realize the gold mine that you were setting up for yourself, right? I'm not covering Dead or Alive because I don't agree with the practices that they're currently undergoing. They're trying to forcefully make themselves evolve with the times, and it's not working. On top of that, they're slapping a monetary value on it that they hadn't learned from the previous game, and it's blown up in their face. And I hope they come away learning from this, because I don't want Dead or Alive to die as a franchise, but they need to, like, know how far it's too far before consumers finally just like, guys, time to stop. God learn. So I hope they come away in that instance. But the guy who said that and said, fine, I'll do it myself, in the nicest, although I may have come across as a bit of a sarcastic prick, I'm just kind of like, if you really feel that way, and there are other people that also feel that way, why don't you fill that gap in the market that I'm not covering? Because that's what a lot of people actually forget or don't know. I'm the first channel on YouTube who started covering, like, the history of fighting game characters. That's all from me. Every channel who you see who does that emulated it from myself or someone who had emulated it originally from me. But I was the first one because, like I'd mentioned with the other dude, there was simply just a gap in the market. I happened to have filled it out. You know, it was just one of those instances. But once this guy kind of realized what he had said, I'm just kind of like, just do it. I don't care. It's like, I'm not losing sleep over this. If you want to do it and cater to them, please, by all means, do so. Like, but I can't, because of, like, where my morals are. Like, not to say, like, you know, that person's like can't see past it, but to me, I'm just kind of like, I've always had this thing of I'm very pro-consumer. I don't like bullshit in my games. I'm very, very against bullshit in my games. And to me, what they did with Dead or Alive was bullshit, and that's why the game support has died. That's because then they're not longer doing anything with it.
Yeah, it died. Was it the same year it came out, right?
I think it was a year and a half later. But otherwise, that was probably I think the worst part of Dead or Alive's support development death was the fact that it wasn't one that went off in like a blaze of glory. It went off in a whimper. Unlike Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, that got a finals. It got like its stupid, weird gimmick Infinity Stone trophy. With Dead or Alive, we didn't even hear about DLC or what happened with the finals because there was just that little faith in the project. And it's because, like, if you market yourself one way and then do another thing, like, just kind of like commit to your gimmick, it's fine. It's why Mortal Kombat has ninjas. It's why Street Fighter has Ryu and Ken. Remember what happened when they took him out for Street Fighter 3? It's fine to play it safe. If that's your gimmick, just work with it. It's fine. Like, there's always going to be a market for, like, games that are, like, hypersexual, right? Like, I mean, even like, let's talk about Soul Calibur, right? Game's fucking shameless. And guess what? It knows that people still pay for it, and it has a second season, possibly a third on the horizon. You know, it's just like, just cater to your audience and what they know, right? You can people can not like it, but you know, I'll tell you about those people that don't like it, they aren't going to pay for it.
Yeah.
It is simple as that, and I feel like people need to, like, stop focusing so much on what everyone else is thinking and just make the game that you envision and that sticks to what the game is about. And now I say that Koei are gonna release Volleyball 4 Dead or Alive, and the thing is that thing will sell well. That's the thing. That thing will sell well. You know, shout outs, core values. What a meme! What an actual meme! I just. Well, what can I say? What did they expect to happen with that like situation? That they were basically like putting two grenades next to each other and not expecting something to happen. Would you like pull the ignition? What can you do?
Okay, segueing into the FGC. What are I know, right? So what are some of the ups and downs in the core values you've experienced with being way more integrated in FGC now since the last time we talked?
There's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons. I think one of my favorite pros has definitely been able to interact with more of the pro players, being able to befriend them, get to know them. Again, as I touched on earlier, it's always really flattering to know that they know me as I know them. It's just like we're both fans of each other's work, just from a different area. You know, that's always cool. One con, however, it's just I feel like this with every community though. It's just like drama. Drama is always going to be a thing with whatever community you're part of, and the NetherRealm scene is definitely guilty of that, and that's perfectly fine. It's just I feel like people need to prioritize their own kind of lives and what they want to do with it instead of being so focused on the drama. Because I feel like once you give people that attention, it's like they take a shot of adrenaline. They're like, oh yeah, let's see how far I can push this. So to me, I'm just kind of like, it's why I don't really, I'm always around on Twitter, but I never say anything because I kind of see everything that goes on, and I'm just kind of, I've reached a point in my life where I'm just kind of like, if people say 1 + 1 = 5, I'm like, you do you, bro. It's so exhausting to me. So I just hope that the scene kind of like comes to this point now where just kind of like we're weeding out trouble to move forward. But you know, it's one thing to say it, it's another thing for it to happen. So I hope we take the scene takes a step in the right direction. We start supporting each other a little bit more for doing like right things. You know, I feel like that's always a good sign. But yeah, no, that's really been the nicest part about kind of integrating more into the FGC. Like making new friends is always a pleasure. Meeting people who recognize me is always extremely flattering. I've met some of the most amazing people from doing so. Honestly, they are incredible. Most of my IRL friends these days are actually people who I've met through the FGC. You know, I've became actually from East London Fighters as well. One I can't remember what she did, but a good friend of mine, Soul Calibur as well, Cheryl. I met her through East London Fighters, and I've known her for what is, I believe, a year and a half now, and she's without a doubt like one of my best friends. Like I love her to high heaven. She's so incredible, and you know, but the FGC has basically become a part of my core life. You know, it's kind of crazy in that sense. You know, of how everything's panned out. But I have more friends in the FGC these days than I actually have out of college, university.
I was gonna say, like, isn't it kind of surreal how like doing like content creating and like, because you know we got our FGC out here in Hawaii as well, but like, you know, being integrated into these scenes, isn't it crazy how you can make some of your best friends ever doing that who you can keep up with more easily than people you probably grew up with or went to uni with. You know, it's like I think about that, and I'm like, I've run into like people that I went to university with, and I'm like, we were cool then, but like we have nothing in common. But then people that I may have met once or twice, or you know, like in our case of you and I, like we've never in person met, but like we're good friends.
Yeah.
And it's like we could just chop it up and just talk anytime, and like
no time's passed.
Yeah. It's bizarrely amazing to see that.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that at all. I mean, even my housemate, right? He lives downstairs to me. I met him through Injustice 2. You know, he's one of my best friends. He lives with me for a reason. We work together. We're best friends. You know, he's got my back and I've got his all the time. You know, I couldn't ask anything else from him. And it just goes to show, like, what an impact something as small as a community like that can lead up to. I've met some of the most incredible people from it. I've met my heroes for it. You know, it's just it's insane to me. I never ever in my life thought I'd ever be in such a privileged position, which is why, like, I even said it at the very start. It's like I'm so content with where I am in my life right now. I cannot see how it can get better than this, but if it does, then God forbid what that may be and what it will do to my health if that is the case. But no, I'm very happy with how everything has gone.
You know, winding down to the last couple questions I have and being respectful of your time, because I know it's getting late where you are. One of the things I've noticed it happening to me, and I know you and we've talked about this before offline, but it ain't that controversial. It's kind of controversial, but it's not controversial. I'm going to use myself as an example. I've noticed that since the last time I talked to you, I've had amazing opportunities, like getting flown out to E3 by PDP, constantly getting free shit. It's not really free because there's always nothing's really free, but getting gear, you know, getting opportunities, getting to interview people, getting the opportunities that allow me to recognize, yes, I have a privilege. You know, I've noticed in dealing with other content creators, you know where I'm going with this. I've noticed with other content creators that a lot of them will start to pop up when you are doing really well.
Of course. I mean, that's just generally the type of way it kind of is, right? It's the YouTube game. I feel like with people like that, it shows their real colors and intentions as people, and what your worth is to them. You know, I don't measure my friendships by what someone can give me, right? If we're friends, we're homies. That's it. I don't need anything else than your friendship. That's as far as it goes. If you ever need my help, you can ask for it. But if I know you well enough to get a gist of your character and what you're all about, then yeah, I'll probably just like leave you on red or put you on mute.
Right.
I mean, there are definitely people like that. I don't want to name names, obviously, because you know, as I said, I don't want to fuel that type of like drama. I don't have time for that. I really don't. But there are definitely people like that, and it's a shame, honestly. I feel one of the hard things as well with content creation, there are people that I think really want it, and there are those that really deserve it. And then there's the ones that try to insert themselves into it in a position that they have no right into being. You know, I feel that's with a lot of upcoming content creators, and it's a shame that there hasn't been as many for MK11. Because honestly, myself, Uncaged, and a fair few other content creators, including some Twitch streamers. Like, we came from MKX, right?
Mm-hmm.
Off the top of my head, I couldn't name you an MK11 channel that came like strictly into MK11 for MK11. If they're, and I'm talking like solely just guys who are YouTube content creators. I'm not talking about people who integrate their stuff over from Twitch. So I really wish that audience, you know, the new upcoming guys would get some love as well, because I feel like they deserve it more than anyone else does. You know, like I said, if I get a rough gist of how someone is, and I know how they are in terms of character and, you know, can be, I'll be wise and aware to avoid said person.
It's funny because a lot of these people don't realize how obvious they are.
Well, when you're arrogant egotist, I suppose, like, it's like the right phrase is Dunning-Kruger syndrome. You know what that means? Where you're so oblivious and arrogant that you don't realize you're that arrogant, and you just come across as just blind to your own stupidity. And I feel like that there are people like that. It's I wish more people could be self-aware in that instance, but you can't talk to a brick wall. I mean, the words just bounce off it.
It amazes me. Like, I've had 2 instances of 2 other content creators. I won't name names because I'm like you. I don't want to add. Yes, I do want to add fuel to the fire, but I'm not. I'm not going to burn it down. So I've had instances. These are 2 instances I've had with 2 content creators. One is a Twitch streamer who has now become a podcaster and has been blowing up on YouTube, and jumped from Dead by Daylight and variety content on Twitch to now being a quasi political commentator. And it's interesting how they wanted to get into podcasting and knew absolutely nothing about it. I've been doing this for years now. I literally helped them learn how to like get a hosting site, how to do tagging, how to, you know, sharing, how to get on various platforms. I literally walked them through building it and actually helped them build their podcast. Then they debuted it last year. A couple weeks ago, they ended up telling me, and I think I tweeted about it, but they told me that my reaching out to people to come on my show, to be a guest on my show, is a form of begging, and it belittles and demeans my show and makes my show worthless. So I was like, right. Okay.
Remember what we said about Dunning-Kruger syndrome?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's in the nicest way possible. I would have probably told him to shove it up his ass.
Oh, I did.
Oh, good. Good.
I did.
Don't send me that after this.
And then the other person who, you know, like, I'm partnered with a certain company. I'm not going to say their name to drag them into it, but I'm partnered. Like, if you see my profile on my social media, you'll see it. I'm partnered with a certain company, you know, and I'm very grateful for that partnership. I don't like all the partners that are in it. One in particular who is a smaller creator than I am, who I guess they do one specific game, Genshin Impact, and they were doing it before it blew up, so like they kind of rode that wave. So I do, as you know, I do hardware, I do video games, I have podcasts, you know, that's on my channel. So I did a review of a microphone, and then they never talked to me, but then they decided to reach out to me, and they're like, "Oh, you got that for free?" Like, well, yes, I worked with that company. I've worked with that company. Oh, how did you get your computer for free? How did you get this for free? How did you get that for free? And then they're like, "Oh, I noticed that you don't get a lot of views on your videos, so you must be doing something wrong. I want to help you, but if I help you, then you got to help me get connections to the companies you're working with.
Wow, it's almost like an eye for an eye isn't the way you should go with friendship. It's almost like, hey man, I want to help you out. Would you be willing to also help me out too? I feel like that's a much better way of putting it instead of saying, hey man, I want your shit. Again, it's just like I remember I said it to you like before we started off, and I'll say it again. People don't know how to speak. It's like they think halfway through it and they're like, wait, I sound like an asshole. Let me double down. Oh, I can't with people.
Have you found yourself becoming jaded or more antisocial the more you've been doing content creating full time? I have a lower tolerance for people now.
Yeah, it was not so much low tolerance. It's just kind of like, the thing is, when I was doing, when I wasn't really doing YouTube, YouTube was my getaway, right? YouTube was where I went to. Now, because I work on the platform, basically, I get away from that. Like, there are other getaways. Like, that's why, like, I play other games and stuff. That's why I do Twitch. Just kind of get away from everything. So it's just kind of like, I don't want to be caught in like this one little small space that like constantly defines me as a person, right? Unless it's something that I feel is accurately representative of who I am as a person. And YouTube covers a fair bit of that. But there's definitely a lot more than just that in itself, right? As you can see, I'm quite articulate with how I constructively say certain things about Facebook gaming. It's just like there's ways of knowing how to speak and how to talk to people, and I genuinely feel like that. I wouldn't even call it an art form, but it's just something that people are like lacking, and I feel. Is it weird for me to say that common sense isn't so common anymore?
No, because it's not. You would think a lot of things would be like, okay, how about you, before you think that, before you say that, think about it, assess it, analyze it, and then if it does sound good, then maybe say it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it's like they open their mouth, they just...
It's verbal. It's just verbal diarrhea. And it is a shame. I just wish more people would learn how to communicate appropriately. I think the most alarming one was literally in the premiere of one of my videos recently. They literally asked me, how can I give constructive criticism, or how can I say something, or something like that. And I feel like that was a real eye-opener to me. I'm just kind of like, have people really lost the ability now to, talk about things without, taking the other person's feelings or thought process into account, and someone articulating how you can make something constructive with value instead of just like throwing a curse at the end of it? Like as much fun as I do have with cursing, I've been throwing vulgar things out the entire podcast, but there are certain ways of like phrasing and saying and doing things, right? Some of the best writing and best humor comes from really intelligent people who know how to write and integrate humor perfectly into their sentences, which can lead some incredible content and videos. But it's like people have been obscure to how that's done or how it works out. So I don't know. I don't know, man. I just hope that more people are educated in how to talk, not just, how they think.
Yeah. My last question, because I know I need to get away from this topic, because I could campfire and bury some people. I could definitely do that. And I'm trying to be, what? I'm about to be a dad. I don't need to go down that route. I need to set an example. Like, what? Articulately roast somebody. That way that they don't realize they're being roasted until 10 minutes after they're in the fire of being roasted. Anyway, so everything else aside, last question I have for you is like, what do you do for yourself? Like for your own self-enjoyment, for like relaxing, taking time away from work, woosah type of, what do you like to do?
I do a brick of cocaine every day. No, don't do that. That would be. No way. I love that. I just set up a good example for my child, like brick of cocaine. It has to be it. For me, what it was pre-COVID was actually going to the gym. The gym was a really helpful and useful stress release tool. Because as someone who basically like sits, eats, and works in the same room, it can basically become a paradox. And I feel like you yourself, because of the Z virus, like everyone's kind of feeling what I feel, but basically the way everyone else feels, I've been feeling like this for like last 5 years, right? But I've been having my outlets to like, look after myself by going to the gym. Now this is peak level of being indoors all the time and everyone's feeling it. So like, it's kind of awful to see that everyone's experiencing what I have felt for a long while. The only difference is that I'm accustomed to it, right? But the thing is, I'm now having to endure the full experience of that by not being able to go out and do anything about it. So it's kind of trash in that sense. So in my free time, honestly, what I have been kind of doing, this probably sounds really weird. I've started a little bit of a comic book collection. I actually have like a shelf probably about this high off the ground, stacked with probably over 100 graphic novels.
Ooh.
I have a fair few issues here actually, because I had these on stream the other day, but I recently have been collecting some of the Mortal Kombat X comic book series. Oh, there we go.
I'm trying to make.
Oh,
how do I make yours the main one? Let me do it this way. I'm going to.
There we go. But yeah, I've been collecting these in my free time. Just kind of like build up collection. It's been oddly satisfying in that sense. I've always been, before I was into like Mortal Kombat and stuff, I'm actually a really big comic book nerd. I mean, if the Spider-Man poster behind me is like over there, is anything to go by? Oh, there we go. Then yeah, you guys will know I'm a huge comic book nerd, which is why although I love covering Mortal Kombat 11 at the moment, I'm really looking forward to Injustice 3, because between that time gap of Injustice 2 to Mortal Kombat 11, it's probably coming up to about 4 years. I basically caught up on the entirety of like DC Comics, and I've read so much stuff in the last few years, honestly, that it's kind of remarkable in that sense of how much time I'd missed up and learned. And the one crazy thing I've noticed about myself as well, this thing locks up information like a safe. It is insane what I've jammed into that. I literally have an entire Mortal Kombat encyclopedia in my brain. Like, I wish I was joking. Anyone can ask me anything about Mortal Kombat. Chances are I'll more than likely know it, because it's just like, it's saved data and information in my head. I remember I was doing a podcast with one of my other friends, like Sodium Jim, and it was talking about, what characters has Rain been in? Well, I'm just kind of like, Mortal Kombat 3, Armageddon 9, and 11. He's like, dude. I'm like, I can't help it. It's always on.
Oh man, so, yeah, I miss. So I was gonna say, like, I miss the gym because, dude, that was the one thing between that, comics and manga were literally what helped me keep my sanity. And then we went, I think we're in our third or fourth lockdown here, maybe fifth. I've lost count. Um, it losing the gym really had a psychological effect on me. I was wondering, like, for you, was it the same? Because it's like,
Yeah, it's the exact same. Because I'm just kind of like, I think the one problem is with lockdowns in general is that it completely throws you out of your routine.
mhm.
Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays all start becoming Mondays and Mondays and Mondays and Mondays and
Yeah.
Mondays. And then your days off, basically, it's like, it's just Monday, but less work. So
Mhm.
there's less going on in that instance. So it's crazy to me of just how isolating it is. And I get that's the whole thing with quarantine, but we're coming up to what was it? We're probably coming up to a year of this, if not so,
Yeah.
probably just a bit more now. It's either I work or I play on games that I can't finish, and
Yeah.
that's basically the cycle for me at this point, and it's relentless in that instance because I'm just kind of like, I just wish it wasn't so mundane, right?
Mhm.
At least with going out and exercising. And I know I could run around a park, but I'm not going to do that. The peak of autumn or winter, whatever awful season I'm in, because it's been one really long day for 2020 to 2021. So I wouldn't really want to do that. I even have a bench at home, but I'm just lacking the motivational desire to do it because I'm just kind of like, I got it, but what am I feeling like I'm gonna benefit from it? Am I gonna use it to go out on a date? Oh wait, I can't go out on a date. Am I gonna use it to get into shape at home? All right, cool. I'm gonna make my room really warm, hot, and sweaty. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like in the instance of where we are now, that there's not too many things I can really do that I haven't already done. I've just been collecting comics. I've been playing video games. The one thing I haven't been doing is sleeping well. So I guess that's something I'd like soon.
Yeah. Oh man. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we go?
No, I don't believe so. I think that covers everything. I just want to say as well, thank you for having me on again, as always. You know, I always super appreciate it, dude. It's always nice to have an actual catch up with you as well. So it was an absolute pleasure. And I also want to say a great thank you to everyone who's watching, as well as all of the supporters I've had over these 5 coming up to 6 years in, I believe, either early March or April now. And it's a very fortunate position, and it wouldn't be possible without you guys. You know, it's I work really hard, and I'm glad that the work pays off in the sense that you guys are able to get some form of valuable and, I'd like to think, enjoyable content out of it, as well as that from myself from a YouTube and commentary standpoint. But thank you very much for your time, Mikkel, and thank you very much to my audience who have come over here and also joined the podcast. Please do give Mikkel some love and support here. Hit him with a sub whilst you're here.
And watch how I react when people sub. Do you remember like, what are you doing? Like, I get so freaked out when that happens on Twitch, when people are subbing or they're doing a bit, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Stop doing that. And they're like, damn it, accept our love.
It's like one of those things, right? It's like someone who's denying food. It's like, my love, you. It's just like just cramming food.
Oh man. So that's the episode, people. I'm gonna leave all links to History Behind the Warriors, social media, YouTube, Twitch, and everything that he's working on. And I just implore you guys, please go and check him out, support, sub, follow, ding the notification bell, even though that damn thing is broken. Please ding it multiple times, because for whatever reason, YouTube just does not recommend content to people that are subscribed to channels. It's the most bizarre thing. I don't get it.
Why would you need to find recommended content that you would want to watch when you can just watch Logan Paul and his dickhead brother? Sorry, is
Or
that meta?
no. Or the chick that lives in her van that apparently just blew up overnight. Yeah, that was completely non-organic.
I have no words for that one, but yeah.
Yeah. YouTube is I'm glad that you and I have avenues outside of YouTube, because if that was it, I would go fucking crazy. If that was it.
Oh, don't worry. 2020's already done that, man. 2020's already done that one. Worst part is it's done it for free.
Oh, yeah.
It's just getting 10-0'd continuously every day. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Oh, man. So you guys can catch this episode of the podcast on all major podcasting outlets. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora. It's also on Amazon Music. Amazon reached out to us to get the podcast over there, so we're over there as well. So give us a follow over on that platform. Video format, we're on youtube.com/Mikhail Casanova and on twitch.tv/Mikhail Casanova. So with that being said, this is History Behind the Warrior and Mikhail Casanova. We are signing out. Have a great 2021, or at least try to. Try. Be positive, knock on wood, just try. Well, do the best you can with it. And make sure you guys have a great one. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I hope it was informative, engaging, and you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure you go ahead and leave a rating and a review. It greatly helps out the podcast and helps the platforms that we're on go ahead and promote us more so that more people can check it out. And if you're wondering what all platforms we're on, aside from what you've listened to it on, we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music, and more. And if you want to support the podcast, then we've got Patreon, so patreon.com/Mikhail Casanova, which allows us to continue doing what we're doing. If you're looking for this in video format, we're also available on twitch.tv/Mikhail Casanova, as well as youtube.com/Mikhail Casanova. So with all that being said, I'll catch you on the next episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast and the #1 podcast in the Pacific, the Casanova Podcast. You have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.